What is going on, my fishing bros and broettes? I got my main fishing bro right here. Everybody say hi to Mr. Bog and throw a like on video for him. How you doing, bud? A little warm. As you can see, we're in Florida. But it's, you know, New Year 2022. And if you watch this channel, I would say, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, how can I catch more fish? How can I catch bigger fish in 2022? How can I understand my craft better? And in this video, I'm going to show you and explain how to do something that I guarantee you the majority of successful pros are doing, whether they're fishing tournaments, whether they're just out fishing, screwing around. And I can tell you by personal experience, like my boy Mikey Kiso, for example, he actually got second in the Pickwick Championship, the Toyota Series. I know he does it, and he is an absolute stick. I know my buddy Miles Murray, he's a guide on Lake Guntersville. I know he does it. I know Salzman probably does it. It's not a bait. It's not a technique. It's not something that you have to go out and buy and some lure that you got to figure out. It's so much simpler than that, and it really gets you more in tune with what the fish are doing every time of the year, during every season, and during every month of the year. And that's important. It gives you a starting point, gives you a place to jump off from, and it's super simple to do. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do it. They're all super easy, and one of them is going to fit you. There's no right way to do it, but as long as you do it, I guarantee you, you're going to catch more and bigger fish. We live in an era of information, right? Like, you guys are watching this video on YouTube, you're probably Googling around, like, how do I catch more bass in winter? How do I catch more bass in spring? What are the hottest lures? All these kinds of things, you know? We're searching for information, we're watching the weather, we'll use weather apps to figure out the weather. So, don't hang up the phone when I tell you this, because there's a lot more to it than just it being this simple. The simplest thing that you can do to catch more fish in 2022 is start a fishing journal. Okay, hold on. Pump the brakes, buddy. Pump the brakes. You're like, bro, that's so lame. Yeah, it is kind of lame. But you know what the lame thing is? It's kind of the old way of doing it. And that's not that there's anything wrong with it, but, you know, taking a journal, going, setting the date, talking about water temperatures, talking about where you caught fish, what type of cover, whether it's grass like this, what kind of lures you were using, maybe were the fish on the bank, were they spawning? You know, how early in the year did that happen? And you have all that data kind of compacted into, you know, maybe a paper journal, maybe like a notebook or something. That's one great way to do it. That is not the way I do it, because that bores the piss out of me, dude. Like, I cannot go home after like 10, 12 hours of fishing and write in a little book and focus and really capture all those details. That's the other problem. I actually used to keep a fishing journal back in the early to kind of late 2000s, like 2009, 2010. And I'd actually do a digital format where I'd write the date, do all that stuff. And I found that I forgot a lot of details that were integral to how I caught fish. The first like couple days that I actually started shooting video with an old like Sony Handycam, I was actually pitching Kissimmee grass, kind of like this, like maiden cane, and I pitched in and I caught like a 6.5 pounder. And what I actually thought happened was I pitched into that grass and fish ate it and I hooked it. I went home, I actually pulled the video off the camera and watched, and I was actually yo-yoing the bait in the grass before that fish actually bit. And I would have never known that, because it's heat of the moment, you're all excited, you know, picking up on those details after you've pitched like a huge line of grass like that. You really don't remember. Little other things that I've noticed too is, you know, you're reeling. Maybe you make a fast reel turn or something, and that's when the fish bites, but I wouldn't have known that unless I had a chesty on or had the camera running to actually see that that's what I did to the lure. That's the action that I imparted on the lure before it happened. One way though, if you don't want to wear a chesty, I know it kind of looks like a bra and stuff, so a lot of us don't really want to, you know, put that thing on. What you can do is, I have this guy. This is a Yellowtech The Boom, and what's really cool about this is it's a mount that kind of goes into your seat bracket right there. I have a GoPro Hero 7 Black on there and a little Ulanzi case, but what's cool about this is it provides kind of like a high camera point. You can actually extend this thing like crazy high, like woo, way up into the sky. And it's not so much for the fancy like aerial shot that you're going for, but what it does is from that view up there, you can see like a crazy amount of information, a crazy amount of stuff around you, whether you're fishing grass, whether you're fishing wood, whether you're fishing down like a bank of a river. It really has a wide angle, so it allows you to pick up on a lot of the stuff that's happening around you. Maybe some bait flicked, maybe you threw next to a tree or to the tip of the tree instead of like way into like deep on the tree fall. So it allows you to see kind of everything that's going on and gives you a really broad perspective. And for all you guys who are like, I don't want to change batteries and stuff, the way I actually do it is I run a power pack to these guys. I'll kind of show you real quick. It looks like these things right here. I'll I'll have a power pack with a plug on it, and then I can just plug that thing in. You don't even have to put a battery in it, and it will run all day long, especially with a memory card that's like 256 gigs. So I can turn that thing on. I'll stop it after every fish that I catch, so that when I go back home and look at the video, I can say, oh, that video is shorter, that's one of my fish catches, and I'll watch just the very end of every single video, and I'll be able to pull my fish catches. What I do is I actually date those fish catches. So I'll put, for instance, like February 2nd, 2/2, and I'll put the lure and the size of the fish. And what that does is, as I save those little videos, those little clips, I sort of conglomerate this little aggregation of all this information, all of these various fish catches, how I caught fish, the days, the season, the lake. I'll have them sorted by different lakes that I fish as well: Guntersville, Wheeler, Smith, Okeechobee, Kissimmee. You know, any kind of lake, they're all in kind of one category. And what's super cool is I can literally go back, say the next year, 2-3 years down the road, and go back and look and say, hey, it's February. I'm in Florida, for instance. What was I doing on Lake Okeechobee in Florida in 2020? In 2019, what was happening? What did the lake look like? Because the way the grass is kind of set up changes a lot, and I can go back and look at those videos, figure out what baits I was using, where I was fishing, things along those lines. Not to say that's always going to work, but it's a lot more of a jumping off point than I would have just kind of blind sending it out into the lake. And like I said too, there's also these other little nuances that you learn by running the video of how to retrieve the bait, little tricks that you did, and you pick up on that only because you captured it on something like this, like the Boom, or maybe a Chesty or something like that, and you have that information to go back and kind of reflect and refresh yourself on. So I told you I'd give you guys a couple different strategies that were more like technology oriented so that you can do a fishing journal. If you want to do the paper, totally fine, totally works. I just like my data to be more sortable and more accessible. You know, with a notebook, you're always like paging through stuff and trying to find it. It doesn't mean you can put it in like an Excel sheet or like put it on Word files or some kind of text files and sort them by date and things along those lines. But I like things that are kind of more at my fingertips, and I like more information. It's hard to write all this stuff down and capture all the fishing info. There's so many aspects to one single fish catch. It's kind of overwhelming, especially when you stop and think about it. So the other thing that I do is I use these graphs. Now, yes, I have some expensive graphs, but you don't need a graph. You can do this with an app, like a mapping app, like Navionics. You can do this with, there's a lot of like various fishing apps that have like lakes and Google Maps built into them. You know, you can do it with, I don't know, like just about any kind of GPS style device where you can save points and put some kind of text definitions in them. And what I do, the reason I like to actually have it on these graphs is it's always accessible to me and it's already all built in. I don't have a secondary step where I gotta like pop it into the graph when I go to the lake. But what I try to do is, we're looking at Lake Reedy right here. And I use the symbols and the text information on my waypoints to actually mark stuff. So for instance, so I got a brush pile right here, and you can see that it says 10-19. So what that actually means is I actually found and caught fish on that brush pile in October of 2019. So not only do I know there's a structure there, and I use the tree symbol to indicate that it's some kind of submerged structure, because that's kind of the coding that I use in my brain, but I know that I caught fish on it in October, which would be kind of fallish if Florida actually has a fall. So the other thing that I'll do too is, say, you know, right, for instance, like you're going down the bank right here, and I notice maybe like a bedfish, or I catch a fish maybe up shallow. I'll usually drop a waypoint just like this. So I got my cursor down, I hit the waypoint button. I apologize because my units are a little slow, because I have like 14,000 waypoints the last time I checked, which is a few waypoints. I probably need to take care of that. So once I get to this screen, I'll go to more options, just like that. So in the situation where I actually caught a fish, I'm gonna actually drop this down, and you get all these crazy symbols. I'm gonna choose the fish symbol, and instead of the numbers, I wanted to find more kind of like what happened. So what I'll do is I'll actually clear this right here, and then you get this little keyboard right here. I'm gonna say, let's be generous, I'm gonna say I caught a 4 pounds. Actually I screwed up. So the first thing I actually put is the date. So let's say 2/22. All right, so February of 22nd, or February of 2022. Now I'll put a space in there, and I want to say this was a 4-pound fish, just like that. So February 2022, 4-pound fish. Now, this is where you can get more specific in that sometimes I'll put like bait, sometimes I'll put spawning fish. If there's some kind of like aspect of it that I think is really integral to that fish catch, I'll put it in there. But what I'm basically trying to do is kind of create like a web or a pattern of fish catches around the lake so that I can step back maybe after a day out of fishing, or if I've been out there for maybe like a week or two or over a period of time, I can look back and look at where all my fish catches occurred and sort of like get in my mind and be like, why did this happen? Are there a majority of points on the west side of the lake? Are there a majority of points right on the grass? Was I not able to catch fish offshore? And I can kind of look at that information and use my own personal fishing instincts to sort of make some assumptions about the lake, how the fish set up, and how to catch them the best. I'm gonna throw you one more thing as we wrap this video up though. As we mentioned in the beginning of the video, we only have so much time to fish, and contrary to what you guys think, I do not fish every day. I gotta work. So when you're out on the water and you're spending that time doing what you're passionate about, you need to make sure you use every minute to the full potential that you can. And sometimes, let's just be frank, we're anglers, dude. Days suck. Like, you get out here and the fishing sucks. Like, it happens. But what that fishing journal does is it sort of incentivizes you, maybe not incentivizes you, but it makes a bad day, it brings value to a bad day. You can have a crappy day of fishing, and even if you caught like 3 dinks, or maybe you caught 1 fish, or maybe it was just a terrible day all around, you didn't catch anything, you can write in your fishing journal and capture that information so you have data about the worst day of fishing for the whole year, and then you can piss and moan to me about it. You know, hey, I started a fishing journal in 2022 and now I have like a day that was horrible and I have it written down to live in infamy. So, but that information, even though it's not a positive experience all the time, is a positive sort of value when it comes to information about fishing, and you can learn from that, and it makes that day on the water, even though you spent it, grinded, and didn't have the best fishing day, it makes that day actually have value and you took something away from it, and that's always important. Hit that like and subscribe button and go check out Monster Bass. They got cool shirts. If you like my shirt, go check it out. But we will see you out on the water, or talking fishing, or hanging out with Mr. Buck. He's sleeping, dude. What a way to close it. Must have been a really, really interesting video. We'll see you out on the water, though. Tight lines, guys.